What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Too Pop to Handle. I am your host, Andrew Nucatola, your pop culture best friend, and as always, I hope you guys are having a fabulous week. We are having such a gorgeous, fabulous, wonderful week here in New York. It is stunning. The weather is perfect. We are finally out of that confusing fall moment where it's cold one day, hot the next. We are finally in the clear, and I have to say, somebody in the podcast gods or whoever was looking out for me, thank you. Last week I recorded on Tuesday night like I do every single week, edited, went to bed, no big deal. I woke up on Wednesday morning and my allergies hit me like a goddamn bus. When I tell you every single day between Wednesday until this morning, I woke up so congested. I felt like I was dying. It was awful. And it was all allergies. Like I wasn't sick. It was just seasonal allergies. And if you were listening back in the spring, I remember so specifically bragging about the fact that I had no allergies. I was in the clear for the first time in my life. I felt big and bad. And I was like, I am finally beating these allergies. They are not going to get me. And they fucking got me, gal. I was down bad all last week. But I woke up this morning and I literally went to bed last night and I was like, can they just please knock these allergies out of my system so when I record tonight, I don't sound like my nose is clogged? And somebody heard me, somebody was listening. I woke up today feeling so much better, and I'm so happy to be recording. Like I said, I hope you guys are having a fabulous week. I hope everybody who's being affected by these insane hurricanes right now are staying safe. It is wild out there, so please stay safe. Like I said last week, I'm going to leave some resources down below where you can donate or you can give back or just help. Even if you don't have anything to actually donate, share the link, educate people. It's very scary what's going on, and people are losing full houses. There's just a lot going on. So any little bit counts. Sharing a link, whatever it is very appreciated by the people who are being affected, I'm sure, because shit is getting scary. So I hope everybody is staying safe. Hope everybody is doing well. I am doing exceptionally well today because I have big news. I am finally seeing the Sweat Tour this weekend. I know, everybody cheered. It is major. I'm so excited. So, if you've been listening for the past few weeks, or really just for the past few months since the Sweat Tour got announced, I kept saying, I was like, I don't care what it takes, where I have to go, what I have to do to see this tour, I will see it. MSG, the tickets were just insane. There was no way I could spend that amount of money on one night. So I was looking at other cities. I tried to go do Philly, but couldn't make it work. I almost did Miami last weekend, and a lot of stuff came up. I was feeling really shitty with my allergies. So it was just wasn't in the cards. So finally today, I bit the bullet and I booked a flight to Denver for this weekend. I got my hotel, I got everything set. So I am headed to Denver this weekend. I've never been, and that's kind of one of the reasons I picked going to Denver. I almost went to LA because I have friends out there and I was like, oh, that would be fun to see my friend and do that, all of that. But the tickets for LA were honestly pretty much the exact same price as New York. So it kind of defeated the purpose. At that point, I should have just spent the money and went to the New York show. But I was like, let me make a little trip out of it. I'm doing a very short weekend trip. Literally, I am there and I am out very, very fast. But nonetheless, I will be at the show. I am so excited. I've also, like I said, never been to Denver. So I'm excited to see the city a little bit and just I'm good at using my time in a city. I'm someone who will I'll wake up at 8 a.m. on vacation and go find out what I can do in the city and what's around and try the local coffee shops and things like that. So I'm very excited. It's going to be so much fun. If anybody happens to be listening and is in Denver and will be at the show, shoot me a DM, hit me up. Would love to see you at the concert. I cannot wait for this show. It's going to change my life. And I'm actually going to the show the same day that the Brat Remix album comes out. So who knows if there'll be anything special or whatever, but I just feel like the energy in the air is going to be so much fun because it's the same day that the album comes out. So I am so excited. Make sure you're following me on all of my socials, both my personal and to pop, because I will be posting all weekend long. When I say all weekend, I mean Friday and Saturday, but you know what I mean. I'm going to vlog it. I'm going to do my fun little TikToks. It's going to be fun. It's going to be cute. I can't wait to be bratty. I can't wait to sweat. Ugh, it's going to be fucking incredible. And we're going to talk about the Brat album in just a little bit because we have a lot of news about this track list, and Bitch, I'm gagged, I'm gooped, I'm so excited. But before we even get into our pop culture moments from the week that were just too pop to handle, I saw a TikTok this week and I have not stopped thinking about it, and I just felt so perplexed to come on to this platform, talk into this microphone, and just ask you guys, do you know how cinnamon is made? I know that sounds crazy, and it's never been a thing that has ever crossed my mind until this week when I saw a TikTok that told me cinnamon comes from a tree. Now, if you would have asked me 4 days ago where cinnamon came from, I honestly would have had no idea. It has never crossed my mind. I don't think about these things, but it is literally, it comes from a tree. And I don't know why I am so flabbergasted over this. Like, I genuinely was like shocked. I was sitting there watching this video, like, there's no fucking way cinnamon is tree bark. Essentially, they take the bark off of a tree, lay it out to dry in the sun, and then it becomes like the little cinnamon sticks, and then they grind it up for like ground cinnamon. I don't know why this is so shocking to me and why, like, I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, I really wish I could understand why it is so shocking to me and why it has been on the top of my mind for the last 4 or 5 days since I've seen that TikTok. But when I tell you I have not stopped thinking about it, I am not kidding. Some things you just learn and you're like, how did I not know that? And also, like, am I the last one to know that? Like, I don't know. I literally was like, this is something I need to bring to the podcast because either this is like a universal experience that everybody's going to have with me where we're all going to learn that like cinnamon comes from a tree, or they're all going to be like, Andrew, you're a fucking idiot. Where else did you think it came from? And with that, I will say, I don't know. I have no idea where I thought it came from. I never thought about it. It is just a delicious little spice that I put on top of my lattes. I use in some baked goods. I didn't give a fuck where it came from. But now every time I use cinnamon, all I'm going to be doing is picturing that man scraping the bark off of a tree, drying it out. Like, the amount of labor that goes into it, crazy. I don't want to spend too much more time on it because, like, it's already an insane thing to talk about, and I understand that, but I was like, I need to either educate the people and make sure, like, they know this, like, mind-blowing thing that I found out this past week, or at least give you guys some ammo to, like, make fun of me with and be like, how the fuck did this 30-year-old man not know this? Either way, you know what? We're being vulnerable on the podcast. I am letting you guys either make fun of me or join in on the fun and be educated, so however it spins, that's that. And with that, I think I've done enough blabbering to start the episode. Let's hop into some pop culture moments from the week that were just too pop to handle. So first things first, Glamour has announced their Women of the Year for 2024, and now the story kind of has two levels to it. So when I first saw this, it was the cover going around with the moms on it. So it was 2024 Women of the Year, the moms, and it was supposed to be the mothers who raised the world's biggest superstars, and now they're telling their own stories, featuring Tina Knowles, Donna Kelsey, Mandy Teefey, and Maggie Baird. So the mothers of Solange Knowles and Beyonce Knowles, Travis Kelsey and Jason Kelsey, Selena Gomez, Billie Eilish, and Phineas. So obviously major stars, no shocker that like these people made the list. That's not where I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I see this, I read it, I watch the videos. I'm like, this is so cute. I love this. Give it to me. I read it all. Then I scrolled down the page and found out that the Women of the Year were not even just these four. There were like 8 other people included in the Women of the Year. So it also included Serena Williams, Pamela Anderson, Suni Lee, Sydney Sweeney, Taraji P. Henson, Hadley Duvall, and Caitlin Joshua, and Allison Felix. Now, I am not someone to come on here and be like, oh, why are we giving all of these women, this praise? I will go to town about how much women deserve every single thing in the world. That is not my issue here. My issue here is these lists come out every single year. Like every year there's Sexiest Man Alive. We're going to start getting all of the like 2024 lists coming up soon, like the best singles, the best albums, this, that, like Time 100. Last week we talked, or was it last week? No, I'm sorry. In my newsletter, shameless plug, I talked about how Sabrina Carpenter was one of like 4 people on the Time 100 Next list. Like, these lists are they used to be such an exclusive thing, It used to be like there was one person of the year, there was one woman of the year, there was one sexiest man alive. And though there is still one sexiest man alive and there is still one like Time 100, it always comes with like this laundry list of like people who didn't quite make the list but still deserved a shout out. And as much as I'm here for like the Katie Haran, like breaking up the, the spring fling crown, whatever you want to call it, giving everybody a piece of the crown, I just feel like not everybody has to have a spot on every single list. You know what I mean? Like, are all of these women deserving of a spot to be a Woman of the Year? Absolutely. But I just think like, why do we have to give so many people this title? It kind of diminishes it. And like, yes, I'm using this as the example, but it kind of just goes across the board. Like, no matter any list you look at right now, there's never just like one person anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's never just like, oh, Tina Knowles is the woman of the year, or Taraji P. Henson is the woman of the year, or this person is sexiest man alive. Like, it's always like, here's the sexiest man alive, but then also like, here's a list of like 50 other people and why they're also the like almost sexiest man alive. And here's a list of like the women of the year that includes 4 people in one group, which in that sense, I get it. If you're going to give the award to like a group of people, like when they did the, what was it, the COVID nurses in 2020 for Times People of the Year, that I understand because it's still going to one group, I guess. Like it's still going to one, like it's still going to one cause. That's the wrong word, but you guys get what I'm saying. It's still going to like one main focus. But when they start adding like 8, 9, 10 plus people to these lists, I just look at it and I'm like, why make the list? Like, what is the point of giving somebody a title if you're going to also give 19 other people the title? So, regardless, I did think that the moms cover was very, very cute. I thought it was very chic. I thought the moms did a really good job at kind of just explaining like what it was like before the kids were famous, what it was like after they were famous. Something that I really enjoyed seeing the contrast with was how like Tina Knowles, Mandy, and Maggie all kind of were into stardom. I mean, Selena and Beyonce have been famous since they were like 10 years old. Selena a little bit even earlier because of Barney. But like Donna Kelsey didn't really have this fame thing until the boys were older. Like you don't start the NFL until you're in like out of college and, you know, older age. You're still in like your 20s. But Beyonce, Selena, even like Billie Eilish, she was young when she started. So like it was cool to see the contrast between like some of the moms who had been dealing with this literally since the beginning of being a mother, and now Donna Kelsey kind of coming into this stardom just a few years ago. You know, obviously it's been kind of heightened in the past year or 2 years, whenever the Kelsey Bowl till now was. But like it was an interesting contrast to kind of see between all of them, and that I really enjoyed. I thought it was really cute when Tina was talking about Beyonce and how she entered a talent show, and she was saying, she was like, you know, she was 7 years old, they entered her into the high school talent show, and I was like, that is not fair. But she got up there and commanded the stage just like she was a teenager, and I was like, well, yeah, she's Beyonce, like duh, no shit, she's gonna command the stage even when she's 7 years old. What else do you expect? So it was a really cute article and I really did enjoy it, but I can't get past the fact that like it was like women of the year and here's 9 other people who are also given the title. I don't know. Am I being too harsh? Like, am I being a little too hard on this? Like, I don't know. Moving right along into our next pop culture moment from the week that was just too pop to handle. Bravo wants a slice of the Kansas City Chiefs cake, and honestly, I don't really blame them. So, last week it came out that Bravo is in the very early stages of developing a reality show that follows the wives and girlfriends, the wags, if you will, of the Kansas City Chiefs. They said that there's still lots to figure out, including who would be a part of the final cast and whether there's enough to build a full series around. It's very much a work in progress. Now, of course, you think Kansas City Chief wags, you think Taylor Swift, you think Brittany Mahomes. But obviously there was like a slew of women who are also in these suites. Taylor's with them every single week. They are so cute. They're all like posting pictures together, doing their little Instagram stories. Like they're very much clearly like a tight-knit community with or without Taylor. And I think just like having Taylor elevate the excitement of the Chiefs adds to the camaraderie of it all, if you will. But obviously, to no surprise, Taylor Swift wants nothing to do with this, and honestly, I don't blame her. A source close to Taylor said that Taylor and Brittany are not part of the show at all and not even want to be filmed. Taylor especially is very protective of what little private life that she has left. She enjoys the ladies that she's met, but she will not be part of Bravo's storyline. I mean, fork found in the kitchen, this is pretty obvious. Like, there is no world in which Taylor Swift is a reality star on any network that isn't her own. Let's be real. Like, if Taylor ever gets to a point where she wants a TV show, which I just never see her allowing cameras in to that extent of her life because she's already given so much of her life to the public eye. However, I'm very curious how they would do a show about the Kansas City Chief wives and girlfriends if Taylor and Brittany aren't in it. Like, they're very much involved. They're very much all in the suites together. Even just last night, they were all together in the suite. So, like, I don't understand how Bravo planned to film with the Kansas City Chief, you know, wives and girlfriends if they're going to cut out 2 of like the main ones. Not to say that the other girls won't make a good storyline and plot line, because obviously they have their own lives and things going on there. And like, there's much more than Taylor Swift in the Kansas City Chiefs stratosphere, if you will. But it's just like, I'm very curious how they would go about, and I guess that kind of leads to their point where they said it's very much a work in progress, whether there's enough to build a full series around. Like, it makes sense that like they're like, well, fuck, if like those two are out, like that cuts out, we can't film here, we can't film there. Like, it's gonna completely throw off the flow and like what makes the suites fun. You know what I mean? If they can't film during the games or things like that, which no, like totally understand the two of them not wanting anything to do with this. Again, they are in the public eye enough. There is no need for cameras to be up. But as of right now, they are planning to make the show centered around the action between Shariah and Shawana and their group of friends who all know the struggles of being partners to these workaholic athletes. So there's definitely an interesting storyline there. And I definitely think that there's something to be made of this. You know what I mean? Like, they definitely can make an interesting storyline, but I think if they're going to do just the Chiefs, like it's going to throw off the authenticity of like the relationships within the games and like the game culture, because if the two of them are filming the show in another suite, they're not going to have the same fun and interactions and like energy as they did when they were with the rest of the ladies who don't want to be on camera. So maybe an option is like they do it with wags of like all different teams, and like maybe the ladies just like don't interact as much, maybe only when they're at like a game together, when if their teams are versing each other. Like maybe they do some of the Jets team. I don't know. I'm pulling out the like 4 football teams that I know, but like I'm very curious how they could go about this and how they could spin it. But I guess we will wait and see. And while we're on the topic of the Chiefs, obviously Taylor Swift was at the game last night and she's making some headlines for her glitter freckles, which I'm just kind of obsessed with. When she showed up, I was like, well, A, she looks stunning. Her and Travis were matching. She's definitely leaning into this like plaid moment. I don't know what it means yet, but I would be shocked if nothing with her next album or whatever she has planned for us has something to do with plaid, the way that she's been wearing it so much lately. That being said, she showed up and she had the first thing you noticed when she walked out was these glitter freckles on. And it turns out that it is from a brand called Facits, Fazits. And it's like a temporary tattoo that you kind of put on your face and it makes these little glitter freckles. And there's 2 owners. There's an owner and a founder and a co-founder, excuse me. And they have been posting on TikTok like non-stop since Taylor showed up to the game last night wearing them, because immediately they were like, that is our product. Like, what the fuck is happening? And one of the founders literally said at the top of this year, her main goal was to get Taylor Swift to wear their product. And she doesn't know how it happened. She did tell us that she did send some product to Taylor's makeup artist earlier this year, or when they launched, I believe either last year or earlier this year. So the product was definitely like in front of their face, whether they used the product that was sent to them or they bought their own. Who knows? We will probably never know. But they have shared that their sales have gone up over 1,000% since Taylor wore the freckles last night. And it is just fucking insane to think about those numbers, for your sales to go up 1,000% overnight. The girl was like, I did not sleep last night. I'm calling in my team members to work overtime. Like, we are swamped. Obviously, they're grateful, but these are the kind of stories that I love to see. It's like seeing that Taylor can just like put on a temporary tattoo and immediately the sales skyrocket. Like, the power behind Taylor Swift needs to be studied one day, because it is insane. It is incredible, though, the way that these women are reacting and the way that they're just getting this success. If you have not seen it yet, just go find it on TikTok. It's genuinely so joyous just to watch. Like, it made me so happy seeing how happy they were. And like, they both were like, we're stressed as hell because our website has never had this much traffic, but they are just like eating up this glory. And just, you could tell that you're so happy and so appreciative. And we just love to see these small little wins from these small companies. Just like a fabulous corner of the internet to be on this week. And moving on to our next moment from the week is a corner that wasn't so fabulous to be on, because Luke Bryan had some words to say about Beyoncé. So last week, Luke Bryan was on SiriusXM's Andy Cohen Live. I guess he's promoting a new album that's coming out. You guys know, male country artists are not my thing, so could not be further off my radar. But as soon as he mentions Beyonce, my ears obviously perk up. So he was on the show and Andy asked him about Beyonce getting snubbed at the CMAs. Like, she had this giant moment, she released this killer country album, everybody was excited about it, and then she gets no nominations at the CMAs. And his answer, it was a choice. He definitely could have chosen his words a little bit better, and I think let's just get into this statement. So he said, it's a tricky question because obviously Beyonce made a country album and Beyonce has a lot of fans out there that have her back. If she doesn't get something that they want, man, they come at you, as fans should do. Everybody loved that Beyonce made a country album and nobody's mad about it. But here's where things get tricky. If you're going to make a country album, come into our world and be country with us a little bit. Now, this statement, I see where he's coming from. If somebody's going to come into a new space and expect to be like recognized and celebrated, you can't just like walk into a store and expect everyone to like wait on you hand and foot. You know what I mean? I understand from that aspect, but when you put it in Beyonce's perspective and you think about the fact that like when Beyonce did try to come into the country world and perform at the CMAs with the chicks and do daddy lessons with them, people were in an uproar. People were like freaking out. Obviously, there was some type of racial undertone there. And it's just like Beyonce has tried to come into this space and be like, hey, don't forget, I'm from Houston. Like the t-shirt she released is like, I've always been country. Like she has continuously said how Texas and country music has influenced her life, her music. And I just think this statement is very uneducated, I guess you could say. Like there's like a lack of awareness and a lack of like, just like kind of stupid. Like this, it's not like this is the first time she's coming into the country sphere and being like, I'm Beyonce, so I'm gonna get the nominations, I'm gonna win everything. And again, Beyonce is not losing sleep over the CMAs, nor what Luke Bryan says, but it's just very telling of what he thinks and how he kind of perceives things in the media. He did come out and make a statement because people were going to town on him after. And he said, you will hear my tone and intentions were not negative. I respect Beyonce and I love how loyal her fans are. I spent a lot of time supporting other artists and I want everyone to win. Love y'all. So I don't think Luke Bryan is like a malicious or bad person. By all means, like I have nothing against him. Honestly, I don't know anything about the man. I know like a few of his songs. I know what he looks like. That's about it. But like, I just think like Beyonce aside, like any artist who has like tried to come into a genre or a space and gets the backlash that Beyonce received after doing it, she has literally said like, I left that award show and felt so unwelcomed. And I started conceptualizing Cowboy Carter that night. Mind you, that was 8 years ago. This has not just been like, you know, a overnight project, like, oh, I'm bored, I'm gonna write country music. This is like a labor of love. This is her like putting her stamp in country music, and she did a damn good job at doing it. And I just think Luke's original statement, like whether he was trying to get like a poll quote or like a viral moment, or if he was just like uneducated on the background of it all, I don't know. It's just like not a good look. And Beyonce stand aside, like you guys know I would ride or die for Beyonce. Like this is just like an uneducated thing, and like to be in the country space and not know the background of all of this, especially I'm sure Luke was in the room when she performed with the Dixie Chicks and I'm sure he saw the backlash. Like it just kind of gave like I don't pay attention to things that don't include me, and like I don't know, it put a weird taste in my mouth. Maybe I'm being over dramatic. I don't really give a fuck. That being said, wrapping up our moments from the week that were just too pop to handle, we're talking about another man who just needs to shut his mouth. Shawn Medes, leave these girls alone. So obviously, Shawn has been in the news a lot in the last few months between Camilla Cabello's album coming out, Sabrina Carpenter's album coming out, him making a return to music. There's been a lot of commotion around him, whether it was, you know, intended from him or not. And he is just continuing now to, I guess, put the limelight on himself in his own words. So he took to Twitter last week. Somebody quote tweeted something about Shawn and Camilla and said that these two don't play about each other. And he quote tweeted and said, no, we don't. So obviously that is immediately just like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what? And like the two of them just have this like weird connection, I guess, where they just like they go through their phases where I feel like they're just like literally licking each other on Instagram and like being obsessed with each other. And then like Shawn's like walking down the street all somber, sad, depressed, and they're like not together. I don't know. It's just like it's a relationship I will never understand. And it's honestly a relationship that I'm just like, they need to either get married and like go live alone and do their own thing and like just never hear from them again, or the two of them need to like stay single or move on and be with somebody else and never talk about each other again, because it's just like when there's enough is enough. Like I always think I've heard enough and I'm tired of it, and then I hear more about it and I'm like, no, I am so tired of hearing about the two of them. So somebody tweeted him back and was like, all right, I need you to give us some clarification from what you just said, because like people are going to take this and run wild with it. And here I am running wild with it. I'm not even running wild with it. I'm just like, shut the fuck up. Like, stop talking about this girl. Like, can you guys just like, either like get married and like do your thing and be together, or just like enough is enough. So he says, I guess to be honest, it came from a place of being a little annoyed with all the projection over the last few months about us. I'm usually pretty good at just watching all the noise go by, but lately it's been kind of bugging me, feeling human, I guess. And I understand that. I get it. You're going through a lot. There's a lot of speculations. I mean, I even talked about their little relationship triangle on the podcast a few episodes ago. Like, I understand what he's saying in that sense, but at the same time, like, Shawn Mendes is not somebody who uses Twitter regularly. He like Sabrina Carpenter said, like, he is reading his self-help books and taking mushrooms and meditating on the floor. Like, he's not somebody who is active on social media. So when he chooses to be active on social media and he does it by talking about this situation that is just like so run into the ground, I'm like, dude, come on, like, let it go. I don't know. It's just like any headline that comes out about Shawn Mendes and Camilla Cabello together, I'm just like, can we get a break? Like, it's somehow giving Bennifer, but like worse. It's like, shut up. Either be together or don't be. Stop talking about each other. Stop tweeting about her. Like, he just needs to stick to his self-help books, go meditate, like, go do your thing, and like release your little album and like post a shirtless picture here and there. Ugh. That being said, that wraps up our moments from the week that were just too pop to handle, and we're moving into our next segment, which is a little bit different this week. Usually, if you're not familiar, we do my Drew releases, which is our music from last week that came out. We chit-chat about that, and then we talk about what's coming up in this coming week, and we're going to do a little deep dive, not quite fully, because we're talking about an album that is not out yet, and it is the Brat remix album, but we're just going to go through because Charli has announced who is on the remix album and who's on what track. And I have several thoughts. So a little bit different this week, but it's my show. I can do what I want. So, like I said, Charli is set to release the Brat, and it's Brat and it's completely different, but it's still Brat, so it's the same or something like that. I can't keep up with the long titles. It's the Brat remix album to me, and I'm so excited for this album. She has not let us down with a single remix yet, and I don't think she's going to let us down, but I'm definitely questioning some of the choices of either the people she collabed with or the people she put on what song. So we're going to just run through each song that's on the remix album. We're going to talk about who it is collabing with and how they're connected. And we're kind of just going to like chit chat about that and just take it track by track. So kicking off this remix album, we have a track that has already been released. It's actually the first remix we got months ago before the album even came out, and it is 360 featuring Robin and Young Lean. I love this remix. I think it is so much fun. Just like we've had this for months, we know it, we love it. It is already out. It's a killer remix. If you don't know it, get familiar with it because it is fabulous. But the first track on this list of a song that we don't know is Club Classics featuring BB Tricks. So BB Tricks is a Spanish artist. She is like a singer and a model from Spain, and they actually teased this remix together at the Boiler Room back in, God, what was that, like April? Whenever Charli did the Boiler Room set, she played this remix back then. So that's what kind of started to tip us off that like there was a remix album, because at that point we had already gotten the 360 remix, we had already gotten the Von Dutch remix, and it was like, okay, wait, are we getting remixes for every track? Like, that was kind of when the red flag started to go up, because we were like, what is going on with all of these remixes? And alas, here we are. So I'm not that familiar with BB Tricks. I don't know a lot of her music. I've heard her music here and there, but like, it's not somebody I listen to often. But I am very excited to see what's in store for this remix. So very excited for this one. And now track number 3, this next remix. When I saw this billboard go up, I thought I was on an episode of Punk'd. I was like, where is Ashton Kutcher? Somebody is pulling the wool over my eyes. What is going on? And it is Sympathy is a Knife featuring Ariana Grande. I mean, what the fuck? I I don't have words. I am so excited for this remix. You do not understand. So as somebody whose favorite album of the year is Eternal Sunshine, closely followed by Brat, this is major for me. There's no obviously denying, like, I've been obsessed with Brat all year. I've been obsessed with Eternal Sunshine all year. Those two are like my most to listen to albums consistently. I cannot get enough. And the fact that they are collabing together on this track, whew, I cannot wait. I am so excited. I'm definitely thinking Ariana's going to go more like Good Night and Go, Imogen Heap kind of vocals and give us a little more like, we're not going to get, high note vibrato, like that higher range that she does is definitely going to be a little more experimental, I think, and I am so excited. Also, it's so cute seeing all the tweets come up and like old posts that Charli has done talking about how much she loves Ariana Grande. There's a tweet and she was like, I think Ariana had some of the most experimental pop music. She's like always ahead. She's always on the next big thing. And like, I think a lot of people think that of Charli. So the two of them working together, I am floored. I am so excited. God, this is going to be so fucking good. I cannot wait. Moving right along into our next track, it is I Might Say Something Stupid featuring the 1975 and John Hopkins. I mean, if you're going to put Maddie Healy on any song, put it on a song called I Might Say Something Stupid because that's quite literally what he's best at. Obviously, this is the tie-in because she is engaged to George from the 1975. I'm not a 1975 hater. Like, I don't dislike them. I went to go see them in November. Like, I am a fan of the 1975. However, I'm not the biggest fan of, like, the way Maddie kind of acts in the public light sometimes. You know, it's like a toxic relationship with him. You know what I mean? Like, it's very much like, you love him, you love him, you love him, and then, like, he says one thing, and you're like, God, what the fuck? It's just like, I don't know. I'm excited for this remix. Don't get me wrong. I feel like it's kind of giving like a negative idea. Like I love the 1975. Obviously, they've done collabs before with Charli. They did Spinnin', which I fucking loved. And George and her have worked together on multiple tracks. Like, obviously, it's going to be good. I'm very excited. Not really sure where John Hopkins comes in. I don't really know him. I'm not familiar with him. But you know what? I trust Charli. I don't think she's going to let Brat get touched by anybody who wouldn't make it extra bratty. But as I go through this list, I just am like, some of the choices, I'm like, interesting. But again, who am I to say? I am just a boy with a microphone. Moving along, track number 5 is Talk Talk featuring Troye Sivan, which we already have, we already know, we already love. Talk Talk is my favorite track on the album, so having Troye jump on it is so good. I cannot wait to see them do this together on Friday. Oh, it's going to be life-changing. The next track is another one that we already know. It is Von Dutch with A.G. Cook and Addison Rae. I mean, Addison Rae is the moment. A.G. Cook is very Brat-coded. He has had his hands in this project a lot, so I love this track. I mean, Addison Rae's scream in this song is going down in the pop culture history books. Like, it is just major. I love this track. That's that. Nothing else to say there. The next track is somebody who Charli is very familiar with and has worked with a ton of times. It is Everything is Romantic featuring Caroline Polachek. So obviously they worked together on Pop 2. They did Tears. They were together on Crash with New Shapes. Charli and George hopped on the Welcome to My Island remix. Caroline and Charli have worked together so many times, and I think their sounds complement each other so well. And I am so excited to see what kind of like experimental fun vocals Caroline brings to this track. It's going to be good. I'm very excited. Also, I love this track alone. Like, Everything is Romantic is one of my favorites, so I'm very excited to see what this bitch brings and just like sprinkles her weird little shit on top of it. Very excited for this one. Moving on to the next track, we have Rewind featuring Blade or Blady. Honestly, I could be pronouncing that wrong either way. I don't know. Not an artist that I am that familiar with other than the work that he's done with Charli. So they did Drama Dreams. What am I saying? They did Drama back in 2021, which was like a fun little remix that Charli did with him. Fun track. I don't listen to him often. I don't really know much about him, but he is in Charli's world, so it kind of plugs into the Bratosphere there. So understood there. The next one, this is going to be a special one, and it's going to be a little more emotional than the original track, which is hard to comprehend. But So I, featuring A.G. Cook, which, if you don't know, So I is Charli's dedicated song to Sophie, who has passed, and she samples It's Okay to Cry by Sophie on this track, and it's all about Sophie and losing her and, like, you know, what her music did for Charli and things like that. And A.G. Cook being on this track is just so perfect. He wrote a beautiful eulogy for Sophie, which you could find on his website still. I actually read it the other day while I was like putting this together, because I always think about that eulogy he put together. It was like so beautifully written, and just like Sophie touched so many people that it just like anybody being on this track needed to be somebody who was like close to Sophie, impacted by Sophie. Like, this is obviously a very like personal and special song to Charli. If you remember back, it had to be like March. It was before the album came out. She performed this song at the Billboard Women in Music Awards, or whatever that award show they do in like early March that is all like highlighting like the women in music. She performed this before it was even released at that award show, and it was like we had already gotten, I think, Von Dutch and 360. So hearing this compared to what we already heard, it was kind of like, whoa, where is Brat that going. And it was kind of her first look into what to expect on a full scale of the album. And it's such an emotional song for Charli. So it makes sense that she has somebody who was also so touched and affected by Sophie. So I'm very excited for this track. Just, I can't wait to see, what he does to it, how they play with it. And just like, I'm curious if they're going to add any more like references to Sophie songs in any of the verses, or like what's going to happen. But very excited there. And yeah, when I saw they were doing the remix album, I was questioning if So I would get a remix because of how personal it is, but it makes sense that AG Cook is on this with her. The next track on the album is the one that we all know, we all love, I still cannot get enough of. It is Girl So Confusing featuring Lorde. If you know me, you know that this song was such a moment for me when it got released. I like still kind of pinch myself and I'm like, holy shit, like this track is, it's insane that we have this, and it is just so good. I love it. It is perfect. Perfect collab. Next up is track 11. It is Apple featuring The Japanese House. So Charli and The Japanese House, they have a history as well. She has worked with 1975 multiple times. Charli also wrote Friends, which is a song on one of her albums. So they have a history together. Again, not an artist that I know of them and I've heard them before, but I don't listen to them. I don't really know a lot of their work. But I mean, Apple is such a moment in just like pop music this year. It's having such success because of TikTok and everything like that. So very curious to see like what they do with this remix, because again, this is one that a lot of people are going to have their eyes on. So I'm curious to see like what Charli does with it. Next up is probably one of the remixes that I feel like the internet is like most excited about because of the lore behind it. It is B2B featuring Tinashe. So let alone Tinashe just being like a killer badass artist and like the baddest bitch on the internet. If you were not familiar with Drop That Kitty from 2015, the Ty Dolla $ign song that featured Charli and Tinashe, this is a moment. Like they are having this redemption arc because that song is something else. And like I just like picturing 2024 Charli and Tinashe doing Drop That Kitty now. It is just such different people. So I am so excited to see them work together on a track again and just have this like this new renaissance. They both had such killer years with their music and just like they've grown and developed so much in the almost 10 years that's been released. So I'm very excited to see what is in store there. And now the next two tracks on this album are two where I am like, what the fuck? Like, how did this pairing happen? It is Mean Girls featuring Julian Casablancas from The Strokes, and I think about it all the time, featuring Bon Iver. So let's go into Mean Girls first, because that is the first track that is going to be on the album. So Mean Girls, I just didn't expect a man to be featured on this song. M- maybe I'm closed-minded. Maybe I just am like too much into like the girly pops and I wanted more of, like some like female rage almost on this track with Charli, because it's literally the hook and like the chorus is "This one's for all my mean girls." So I thought it could be like a killer power anthem of just like feminine rage. And I'm curious to see like what Julian Casablancas brings to this track, because like to me Mean Girls would be so killer with another female on it to just like amplify the like the like not the rage but like the anger almost behind this track. So very curious. Again, Charli is not going to do anything bad on this album. It has been such an era and such like a crazy whirlwind in her career. It's been so good every single moment so far. She's not going to steer us wrong now. Like I'm not expecting the song to be bad. I'm curious to see what he brings to the table on a track that to me is so like feminine rage, girl power in that sense. So we will see. And kind of on the same note, I think about it all the time featuring Bon Iver. This is about like, should I get pregnant? Should I have a baby? Like, should I start my birth control? Like, she's talking about turning 30 and like not knowing where the fuck her life is going to go, because everybody around her is having kids and getting married and like, doing all of the like traditional 30-year-old or like adult, such bullshit, stupid shit things. And like, the only way I can see a man being on this track making sense is him like responding to her. But to that, I say, like, why not have George on the track with you? George, obviously, it doesn't necessarily always sing, but, like, they could have done something. Like, I don't know. I just, like, when I saw this, I was like, a man on I Think About It All the Time? Very interesting. I mean, again, she's not going to steer us wrong. It's going to be good. I'm sure, like, I'm not counting it I'm not gonna count my chickens before they hatch, is what I'm saying. Like, I'm still excited. I'm very much like seated, sat. I'm fucking flying to Denver to see the show on the album release day. Obviously, I'm excited, but I'm just like a man on Mean Girls, and I think about it all the time. Sure, I guess that is Brat. Like it, expect the unexpected. And I guess maybe I'm being a little too close-minded. That being said, the remix album ends with guests featuring Billie Eilish, which we all know, we all love. It was making me question my sexuality. It is so sexy. We love that track. It is so good. I am a little upset that Spring Breakers isn't getting a remix, but at the same time, Spring Breakers to me is perfect as it is. So like I'm kind of glad she's not touching it. Just like leave it as it is. Give us this perfect pop song. And that being said, that is the Brat Remix album, and that concludes our Drew releases for this week. And now moving right along into like the main meat of the show. There's been a lot of news coming out lately about movie sequels. There's been some movie sequels that have come out in theaters. There's been some things that are wrapped up filming. There's been things being announced. And it's starting to make me raise the question, is the sequel always worth it? Does a movie need a sequel just because people loved the first one? Is it necessary? And it kind of all stems, there's been like a lot of news, like I said, coming out. So it kind of started with the release of Joker Folie à Deux, or I guess maybe I can call it Joker Folie à Don't, because it is not being well perceived. So obviously the first Joker movie and the Joker and Batman franchise as a whole has such a cult following. And when the first Joker came out in 2019, it was such a moment. I'm not even like into that realm of movies, or like I'm not a superhero person, but like I remember how crazy the Joker movie was in 2019. I mean, especially following like the hype and the excitement of the Heath Ledger movie that came out, what was that, like 2008? So like there was just like a lot of like excitement and hype around the Joker when that came out. It had a $96.2 million debut in North America with only a $55 million budget. So like it was exceeding all expectations. It was like a blockbuster hit. People ate it up. So of course, when there's that fandemonium and excitement behind a project, you immediately think, okay, let's make a second one because people love it and they want more. And as excited as I was and still am, and I'm still loving Harley Quinn and like everything about Gaga being intertwined into this project, I'm starting to wonder if they're regretting doing a sequel. So if you did not see, and this is like not your corner of the internet, Joker Folie à Deux is not getting the best reviews and feedback from critics, from fans. There's very mixed reviews. So it ended up having a domestic opening of 37.8 million with a global debut of 121.1 million, which sounds great. $120 million is a lot of money to make globally, but then you find out that the budget was $200 million. And when you compare the original Joker to a $55 million budget, making $96.2 million just in a domestic release, compared to a $200 million budget that had a $37 million debut domestically, those numbers are crazy. Now, there's a lot of reasons why this could be. It did take a while for this movie to come out. I mean, the Joker came out in 2019. We are now 5 years later for the sequel to come out. There's a lot that, people, maybe the hype dies down. People aren't as interested. It could be that. There's also the whole point of the fact that, like, this movie is a musical. It was marketed as a musical from the beginning. They said, they were like, we are releasing this movie and it is literally going to be a musical. We are bringing Lady Gaga into it. Like, there will be singing. It will be a musical. There will be theatrics. Now, like they do with every single movie musical, it was not necessarily pitched to the public as a musical. In any of the trailers, of the previews, the press, there was no musical ties to this movie. Just like with Mean Girls, like it's just like a common factor in musical marketing. They don't pitch it as a musical because people don't like musicals. Couldn't be me. I love a musical, but it just raises the question of like, maybe we should start promoting these movies as musicals so people go into it and know, hey, okay, there's going to be singing in this movie. Maybe it'll like lessen the blow of their review and like how much they ended up hating it. Because like every 5 seconds when the Joker is like contemplating his life and is depressed, and then here comes Harley Quinn fucking singing a song and like tap dancing across the screen, like it's definitely jarring. And especially in a world that is so developed and loved and like just like such like a cult following like Batman and Joker, to throw such a curveball at these people, it's not gonna get rave reviews. Like, I just don't think that makes sense. Me, my gay ass who loves Lady Gaga, I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to see a musical with Lady Gaga in it. It is like a theater kid's dream come true. But like, the reality is, the people going to see this movie aren't necessarily theater kids, and I'm sure they've never seen a musical in their life. And that's not tea, that's not shade, it is just the truth. So it obviously has that, like, it kind of shoots itself in its foot because you're like, oh, well, we're not going to promote it as a musical and just expect people to go into this project and love it for what it is because they love these characters and, they just hope that it kind of like drives through it. And clearly we are not seeing that. And we are also seeing that Joaquin Phoenix isn't necessarily thrilled with the movie either. Now people are going back and they're analyzing like how he reacted after they had the Venice Film Festival premiere, which it got like a crazy standing ovation. But I mean, like, what doesn't at the Venice Film Festival? Like, I feel like every movie that premieres in Venice is like they get a 10-minute standing ovation is like the biggest deal. But like, everybody kind of gets that standing ovation regardless of how the movie performs with the public. So that almost kind of like brings me back to the top of the show where it's like, if everybody's getting an award, if everybody is on Glamour's Women of the Year award, if everybody is Time's Next 100, like, does it really make it that special that this movie got a 10-minute standing ovation when every single movie at the film festival gets a 10-minute standing ovation? I feel like it just kind of like, they shoot themselves in the foot by putting so much hype behind things like this. And like I said, fans are now analyzing what Joaquin Phoenix was saying to Lady Gaga after the movie finished. And it seems a lot like he's saying it's horrible. And she's like, no, I loved it. It's great. What do you mean? And he's saying, I didn't like the ending and like kind of like ragging on the movie. I also saw reports that he walked out of one of the pre-screenings. Like he went in, did his press, talked to the crowd or whatever, and then didn't stay for the movie and snuck back in during the credits to like thank them for coming. So I don't think he is loving this movie and like is proud of what it ended up being. There were some reports that like the ending was a little changed and they took some parts out and like, there's a lot of different things that can go into a movie that like might have been filmed but didn't make the final cut, and like it could be a surprise to anybody in the final cut. You know what I mean? Like, you don't even, unless you're the director and you're on the editing and production team, like you don't know what's going to come out in the end of the film. So I think like maybe there was like a miscommunication with the team and the actors. I don't know, but it's disappointing to see that like this movie that really was so hyped up and people were excited about back in like 2021, 2022 when it was filming in the city. It was like the biggest deal that Gaga was in the streets filming, and like there were pictures of them and there was like they were at the courthouse, and like it was such like there was such a what's the word? Like such like excitement around this film, and then it just kind of like it died out. It got more exciting and now it just kind of like tanking, and it kind of sucks. And it kind of just leads me to like, people loved the first Joker so much. Did this need a sequel? Like, did we need to extend the story as far as we did? Now, I will say, I didn't see the original Joker. Like I said, it's not my thing. So I don't know if it had like a definitive ending. I don't know if it left an open like question that people were like still curious and wanted more. I don't know. I mean, obviously $121 million is a lot of money, but it does suck to see that like the budget was so further shot than the first movie and it is just like falling short from where it went the first time. And it's nobody's fault. It's there. You could point fingers at everybody and whatever, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. The numbers don't lie. So just kind of sucks. And again, raises the question, do we need a sequel? And now, staying on the topic of sequels, we had some very exciting sequel news come out last week. And now, before I go into this anymore, I want to preface that I am very excited for both of these pieces of news because anything tied to Anne Hathaway, I am going to eat up. That being said, Anne Hathaway has been confirmed to be back for The Princess Diaries 3 and The Devil Wears Prada 2. And I have very conflicting feelings about both of these projects, and I think I have very valid reasonings for these opinions, so stay with me. First things first, Princess Diaries 3. So on Friday, Anne Hathaway took to her Instagram, posted the cutest little reel giving us like throwback clips of the shut up line in the Princess Diaries, and then it ended with her doing a new one for the Princess Diaries 3 and announcing the fact that it is happening. Now, anything Anne Hathaway touches is gold in my book. It immediately gets a gold star. I love her. When she has that whole hate train going on behind her, I was not on it. I was the first one trying to turn that train around because, like, what is there to hate about Anne Hathaway? Everybody was wrong. Everybody realizes now. We're not getting into that. I just think Until we have a plot line for this movie and know what it's going to be about, I'm a little weary. I'm like, is this going to be something that we need? Like, do we need a third Princess Diaries movie? Or are they going to end up shooting themselves in the foot like they've done with so many sequels and, third movies, fourth movies, where it just gets tired? Now, let me preface. Anything Anne Hathaway and Julie Andrews are in is going to be fantastic. We don't know if Julie Andrews will be back. I can't imagine Julie Andrews not being in the Princess Diaries because like she is such a pivotal role within the franchise, but it has not been confirmed yet, so we do not know. All we know right now is that Anne Hathaway is back and the movie is happening, and it is set to be directed by Adele Lim. So Adele Lim was one of the writers on Crazy Rich Asians. She also was a writer on Raya and the Last Dragon, but it is to note that she was not part of the original projects. The original directors of the first two movies was Gary Marshall, but she did say in the statement that as a diehard fan of the original Princess Diaries, I'm beyond excited to be part of bringing this third iteration to the beloved franchise to life. We look forward to celebrating its core tenets of female power, joy, and mentorship with audiences worldwide. I I am not I hope I am shooting myself in the foot. Like, I hope when I see the plot line for this movie and hear about like what it's going to be about and I see it and everything comes to life, I want this movie to change my fucking life. I just have reservations because like when you touch something that is so perfect and like well loved and well received, people love the Princess Diaries franchise because it is so good. And they stopped while they were ahead. They did two movies, that was it, and they were perfect. They were so well done. The sequel to the first one extended the story, it grew upon the character relationships, and it kind of like added another layer to the story that we didn't get in the first one. So I am just like, fingers crossed. I'm like hoping that they continue the story and just like build upon it rather than like introduce something new. And I don't know. I just like I'm very excited for this. I cannot wait. And whether it is bad or good, I will love it. I know that. I'm going to admit right now, I'm going to love it regardless. But I can also admit that like just because I love something for the nostalgia doesn't mean it is going to be good. So we will see. Again, Anne Hathaway, Julie Andrews, they are not going to do a project that is bad, but we will see. I am very excited. We will chat more about this when we know more, but that is all we know for now. But on the other hand, we also know that Anne Hathaway, Emily Blunt, and Meryl Streep are all back for The Devil Wears Prada 2. And now this is a movie that I cannot fucking wait for. So it has been almost 20 years since the first movie came out. And I think the plotline of this sequel is the perfect way to continue this beloved movie and story and just build upon it and make it relevant to today's world. So the storyline being discussed for this movie is focusing on Miranda Priestley, so Meryl Streep, obviously Anna Wintour inspired, at the end of her career facing the decline of traditional magazine publishing. And she is forced to go head to head with her former assistant Emily, who is now a high-powered executive at a Kering or LVMH-style luxury group whose advertising dollars Priestley desperately needs. And now, to me, this is the perfect way to do a sequel because it is current with the times. It is showing growth within these characters. So Miranda, who is like on top of the fashion world, Runway was like the biggest magazine. It was Vogue, obviously, essentially in real life. It was like the biggest thing in fashion. People would die for the role, as she says over and over in the movie. And now it is like print magazines are not performing the way that they used to. So she is trying to figure out how to survive in the digital age. I'm very excited and curious to see like how they bring Anne Hathaway's character Andy back into it. And like to me, like I'm imagining like Miranda reaches out to Andy and is like, hey, I need your help. Like I'm drowning. I don't know how to make this magazine perform well because, I'm so print focused and she's not with the times. And now they're going back and forth with Emily. And like, I'm sure there's going to be some hostility between Emily and Andy because of like, she took Andy to Paris and Emily didn't get to go to Paris. There's all of that drama behind the scenes. So this is a storyline where I think they can develop upon the characters. They are, continuing with the times and showing like how things can adapt and change over time. This is a sequel that I think is going to be perfectly done, especially the fact that the three of them are back for it. It is going to be incredible. Not to say Princess Diaries 3 will not be incredible, but I think until we have a plot line and know more about who's back for the movie, what's going to happen in the movie, my focus is on The Devil Wears Prada 2 being the better Anne Hathaway sequel coming out in the near future than Princess Diaries. But again, I'm going to love both of these movies no matter what, because if Anne Hathaway is in it, I am sold. Moving on to the final kind of sequel news, or I guess trilogy, whatever you call the third movie in a trilogy, because it's not a sequel, whatever that's called. We got some information about Mamma Mia 3. Now, nothing confirmed, nothing really telling us that it's happening, but we did hear that Amanda Seyfried wants Sabrina Carpenter to play her daughter in a potential Mamma Mia 3. So Sabrina has her Broadway background. I mean, they do look very much alike, so I could totally see this casting. And there's not any confirmation that we are getting a Mamma Mia 3, but we did hear from Christine Baranski, who plays Tanya in Mamma Mia, and she shared that she recently met with the producer, Judy Kramer, who was already planning Mamma Mia 3. She said she gave her the narrative and the plotline of how it's going to happen. That's all I can say. Judy Kramer has also said in the past that when she wrote the original movie, she did it in sequence to be 3 movies. So there is obviously space for it to become a trilogy. Do we need a third Mamma Mia? I don't know. That's another one where I'm like, until we get the plot line, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh my God, I'm so excited for Mamma Mia 3, because like, do we need a third one? Will I be excited and sat for it? Yes, but like, do we need it? Again, I just like, I'm it's raising this question constantly. I'm like, just because there is like a want and a need and a desire for a sequel, do we need it? Now, you might be saying, Andrew, you have been preaching and talking about Freaky Friday 2 nonstop. And I'm going to stop you right there, because that is a sequel that we need. That is a well thought out, a well-rounded project. Everybody is back on board. That is going to be fantastic. And I'm not saying a sequel can't be good. Trust me, a sequel can be fantastic, but we really have to boil down, like, a sequel's purpose is to build upon and, enriching the relationships that the audience has with these characters and that the characters have between themselves. So if the sequel is not going to be, helping these characters, or like learning more about the characters, or maybe resolving something from the first movie or whatever it may be, I don't know if it's necessary. So we will see. Regardless, I am very excited to see Anne Hathaway and Meryl Streep back on my screen together in Devil Wears Prada 2, and I cannot fucking wait. And with that, we have made it to our TV recap of the week. We are talking Real Housewives of New York, and we are talking Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. And before we even get into like the nitty gritty of the two of them, podcasts are tearing these housewives apart. Between Erin and Bryn, with Erin going on the Jeff Lewis podcast and talking about where she doesn't know how Bryn gets her money, and Whitney and Lisa, with Whitney going on the Vile Files and talking shit about Lisa. Like, these podcasters are coming between the housewives, and if we are not careful, they are never going to come on another podcast again. So maybe we should just, watch what's going on the mic, because before we know it, these housewives are going to have a no podcast clause in their contract. And as somebody who is, an up and coming podcaster, I don't want to see that, because I have so much space for any of these ladies to come onto my show and not talk shit about their co-stars. So, let's wrap that narrative up before it gets a little too scary. That being said, let's start with RHONY first. It is the season premiere. We are kicking it back off. This is the second season for these ladies. And after kind of, people had some mixed feelings about season 1, I was very excited to see how season 2 gets perceived. Let's jump into the episode. So it starts out with kind of breaking the fourth wall and giving us a look into what's to come for the season. We see this giant blowout fight between Uba and Bryn, and like Erin's getting involved, and they're all kind of fighting with each other at some like house or vacation that they're on eventually. And it starts with the filming of the opening sequence, which is such an interesting way to start the season, because it's giving us such like a peek into what's to come without giving us any context there. So I did really like the way that they broke the fourth wall in that aspect, and I'm very curious to see like what unfolds. And we're already kind of seeing things unfold between where Bryn and Uba would get to this point where they're having such a disagreement on something, because we're kind of seeing Bryn start to unravel some lies that she's been telling. So we'll get into that in just a moment. But we kick off the season with Miss Jessel, who had such like a hero arc last season. She started out, people were just being like, all right, yeah, she's fine. By the end of it, bitches were standing. They were calling themselves tank tops. I love the bitch. I think she is fabulous. I love having her back on this season. So she is hopping on the subway with Pavic. And as much as I love Jessel, I have to say, any New Yorker who like takes pride in not taking the subway is a New Yorker that just like rubs me the wrong way, because you live in New York. Take the fucking subway. It's the easiest way to get around, and you would rather spend $900 a year on Ubers. then take the subway. It just like, get with it. Like, what the? I can't. I cannot. That being said, we have this conversation that carries over from season one. It seems to be like the biggest argument in their relationship is the fact that Jessa wants to try for a third baby. She has these eggs frozen, but Pavitt does not want a third kid. So this is something that it's a big conversation to have. Like, it's definitely something that, though they're doing it on camera for the entertainment, there's got to be some deeper conversations had off of camera that aren't just for entertainment purposes, because it's like, time is ticking. If one person wants a third baby and the other one doesn't, like, they've got to somehow get on the same page. And right now they are on different chapters completely, because Pavitt is more concerned about, his food Instagram, and Jessel is trying to, pop out a third kid while also getting some designer bags. But that being said, we will, pick that up when there is more development there. There's a lot of questions of like who was friends with who this season. We're seeing drama between Jenna and Erin. We're seeing drama between Bryn and Erin, Bryn and Sai and Jenna. And a lot of it is valid, a lot of it is real, but a lot of it is also stemming from things that, I hate to say it because I love the bitch, but it seems that Bryn is kind of stirring the pot and like fabricating some of these people's words. So it's definitely, I'm curious to see like how the things that are already being spun out of control in these like web of like lies, and maybe they're not lies, maybe it's like stretching the truth, and maybe she's just like doing it for the plot, but there's already some fingers being pointed at Bryn for stretching the truth and kind of like fabricating some stories of like Jenna not being able to pay Erin back, and Jenna not liking Sai, and the whole thing with Erin on the podcast. And like, it's just like there's a lot of things going on right now that are like kind of painting Bryn to be not like the best of friends. And again, I love Bryn. I think she is fabulous. I think she is so funny. This is not a dig at her. I am just like recapping what happened on the first episode. So we will see, how this plays into, especially fight that she ends up having with Uba, because that seems like it's like the moment of the season. Bryn wouldn't even be mic'd at the photo shoot. She was like, I don't want to be on mic. Don't talk to me. Like, I want to come get my photo shoot and do my thing. So we will see. We also end up meeting Raquel, who is the newest housewife of the bunch. And I love her. Like, obviously it's only been one episode, but I think she is so badass. I think she is so cool. All of her little like her like stunt double bike dreams and everything, and like she's like, oh, I want to like ride motorcycles by day and then like curate a kick-ass art gallery by night. I love it. Get you a girl who can do both. I love having some queer representation on the show. I am very excited to see what Raquel and her partner bring to this season. But the main focus of this episode seems to be this party that Bryn is throwing, which we see in the final scene of the episode. Her brother is back in New York, so she is, inviting all of the girls. The husbands are there. Raquel is there. Rebecca Minkoff is there. It's the first time some of them are meeting Raquel. It's the first time some of them are meeting Rebecca. So it's a big moment, like, for the housewives and, like, what could come of the season. And it is just full of drama. I mean, Erin goes over and asks Jenna, who told her about the poor comment. She brings up that Bryn said it. And then Sai finds out that Bryn was the one who started the drama, saying that Sai hated Jenna. They all go over and confront Bryn. They were a little harsh and they were a little mean. It could have been handled a little bit more mature, but it just seems like they are kind of done with whatever shit they've been putting up with her. So I'm curious to see like what's deeper with that, because the way that they were just like going in guns blazing on Bryn was crazy. And the fact that it resulted in Bryn leaving her own party crying and everybody else was like at the restaurant or the bar, like still together and just like coming down from it. I'm like, if I was Bryn, I'd been like, no, you bitches can leave. If you are at my party and you're going to come at me like this and make me feel uncomfortable, get the fuck out. But the fact that Bryn left just kind of makes me think, I'm like, are they catching her in all of her lies and like things are finally blowing up in her face? I don't know. I guess we will see. I am just like, I'm now going to be psychoanalyzing everything that happened with Bryn and any of the cast members, because I know that this giant blowout fight is to come at the end of the season. So I'm very excited to see like what's in store there and what kind of happens, and what ties in to make Uba and Bryn have this fucking blowout fight. Moving right along into Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, the girls are headed to Milwaukee. I feel like this episode was really built around Brittany and her man and like all the drama with the two of them. Angie K reveals that she found out that her man was DMing her brow lady, which they end up bringing up at the basketball game. Lisa ends up calling her out while they're at the roulette table, like at the casino, and she's like, why are you texting him? Why are you FaceTiming him? Give me your phone. Sends him like that text, like, hey, I'm out with the girls, don't know when I'll talk to you. Like, they are clearly so anti this man for Brittany, and Brittany is so down bad for him. And it makes me sad. Like, I feel bad for her that she is like so committed and dedicated to this man who is just like gaslighting her along. And the fact that like everybody knows what's going on, and like everybody kind of is like, oh, you think that you guys are more serious than you are, and you're not, but you're continuing to spend your entire vacation FaceTiming this man. Like, it's just kind of like painting her in a negative light with the girls. And not to say it's like a way to judge her character or anything, because I do think she means well, and I do think this is something that she really does care about, but it's just sad to see. And like watching it come up at the basketball game and then her walk away crying with Meredith, which is like, it's like her first trip with these girls on camera, and this is happening on TV while she is on FaceTime with the man 10 minutes ago. Like, it's a lot. And I feel like, obviously you're signing up to be a friend of on Housewives, which is kind of like your application to become a housewife in the next season. It's sad. And I feel bad that like 3 episodes in, all of this is piling up on her. But I mean, when you're on Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, the shit piles up fast. Like, they are, snow is coming. They have a blizzard coming for you, bitch. And I feel bad. It sucks. It's sad, but it is what it is, I guess. The other thing that kind of was like one of the bigger storylines is this whole like Whitney's jewelry being stolen from Alibaba. Meredith is like sticking on this storyline that like she read online that Whitney is stealing jewelry or like buying jewelry from Alibaba and reselling it as like higher priced items, which obviously is like not okay. And Meredith is being a little shady about it because she's like, I don't know if I'm going to bring it up. Like, her and Whitney have had their issues, especially business wise, in the past few years. So to see that like now Meredith has this like tea or insider scoop, whatever you want to call it, that this might be the case with Whitney. And she's like, yeah, I know about it, but like, why would I offer her business advice? I'm like, you know what? Good for you, Meredith. I don't blame you, because the way that Whitney kind of just like plays dumb to all of the stuff going on between the bath bombs and just like everything with Meredith, like Whitney, I know she's on her healing journey and like whatever, like I just feel like she needs to like, I don't know, I, I have such a love-hate relationship with Whitney where like I think she makes such good TV. I think she's hilarious. I do really like her, but there's certain things where I'm just like, you're kind of like missing the point of like people trying to help you, or like people just like calling you out for things or things like that. I don't know. I will give her grace because she is going through a lot this week. If you did not see, her daughter got rushed to the hospital, I think yesterday, I think on Monday, and there's like no updates and like nothing to come from it. So I hope she is okay. I hope Bobby is okay. Like, definitely scary. And if she has to sell some Alibaba jewelry ripped off for a higher price to pay for these medical bills, so be it. And then the final point that we're going to talk about is just Bronwyn and Lisa. Lisa brought Bronwyn into this world and like into the Real Housewives, and I feel like they're growing apart so fast. We were only 3 episodes in and they were already like bumping heads multiple times. So we see Bronwyn go up to Mei Lee and tell her that she should ask Lisa how she feels about her outfits, which is clearly Bronwyn like stirring the pot and reiterating something that I'm sure Lisa told her kind of in confidence or as a snarky joke, as she says, but it's clearly stirring the pot and like adding drama and like adding insult to injury by telling her, hey, go ask Lisa what she thinks about your outfits, because clearly that's not a good thing to be told. Like, obviously, if you're telling someone to ask them their opinion on something, you know something that they don't. So Bronwyn is definitely stirring the pot, and I'm starting to kind of see why Lisa called her the villain of the season. So Lisa rebuttals with that. She said it was a snarky comment. After Bronwyn said, oh, that's like Valentino, I responded, don't worry, it's probably back at Nordstrom. And Mila says that's not something I would ever do. And then Bronwyn says, this is the problem. You say it's a snarky comment, it's a joke, haha, but when I say it, it's not a joke. So if you want to get away with a little mess, then all of you are going to have to let me get away with a little mess myself, and that includes Heather, which just like completely brings Heather back into the equation from episode 2, where Heather throws her under the bus at the the rope course that they did, where she's like, oh, well, you were saying this about Whitney to Lisa, and now you're best friends with Lisa. So Bronwyn is definitely feeling the heat from these girls, and I see both sides. Like, I see where Heather and Lisa are like, hey, like, these are things that we're saying in private. And like, though, yes, we're talking shit or whatever, like, it's girl talk. Like, we're just like shooting the shit, doing our thing. But at the same time, like, I kind of appreciate the fact that Bronwyn is very much like, well, you said this and you're talking shit behind their back. So I will talk shit behind somebody's back, but I will also tell them it to their face, which we saw with her and Whitney. So definitely just like an interesting dynamic between all of the girls with Bronwyn right now. And I'm just so surprised to see this wedge being put between Lisa and Bronwyn when Lisa was one of like the main components of Bronwyn coming on the show. So very curious to see where this goes from there. This season of Housewives for Salt Lake City is already so good, and I cannot wait to see like where they keep going. I feel like the drama is just going to keep building on. I cannot wait. I am so excited. And that being said, we have made it to the final segment of the show. It is time for my yes and my mess of the week. My yes being something I am loving and my mess being something I am not loving. My yes this week is a very hot topic in the podcast world, and I'm not going to go too deep into it because like if you listen to the podcast and you know me and you know like where I stand on things, it's a no-brainer that I am loving the fact that Alex Cooper had Kamala Harris on Call Her Daddy this week. I think it is so incredible to see what Alex has built with Call Her Daddy over the years and just been able to get to this point. Whether you think she's a good interviewer or not, she gets such good guests. And the fact that she has the current vice president and the next president of the United States on her podcast to talk about women's reproductive rights is so incredible. I think this was such a perfect little, just a little like nugget in Kamala's campaign. I think it was a perfect thing for Alex to do, to just like come out and like get her listeners to understand like why it is so important to vote and why it is so important to be voting for Kamala and for, you know, in this election because of what's at stake. The way her listeners are responding is just like outing them very Trumpy. And you know what? I wish I could say I'm surprised. I'm not that shocked, but I'm more surprised the fact that they're so surprised that Alex is so pro women's rights and so for women's reproductive rights and things like that. It just seems, I'm like, she's done, her whole brand started with like making it normal to talk about like her sex life and like women to have more of a voice about like talking about their sex life and like taking away the stigma and things like that. And so I just think like it's kind of a no-brainer that she's going to side with the party that is pushing for the right of women, which you would think all women would be on board with, but clearly like people have rocks for brains. But I love that Alex did this. I think it was fabulous. I think it was such a good interview. I really, really loved it. And I thought it was just like a fun way for Kamala to get her message out, reach an audience that maybe isn't on board with her, which clearly they aren't, and just kind of like try to help them understand like what her end goal is and what her policies are. So I thought this was fabulous. I loved it. And moving on to my mess for the week, we are talking about Liam Payne. So now there's actually two levels to this because it started out with him just like looking for attention, and now it's just like leading into more people coming out about him being a complete asshole and creep. So it started out last week. Niall Horan had a show in Argentina and he decided to like vlog the entire experience on Snapchat. He like showed up to the hotel that Niall was staying at and met fans outside, making it all about him. Then he got to the concert and like the video of him walking into his suite is honestly comical. He's like walking in all slow and like making it look like the whole everybody is there for him and like just like looking for attention. And like of course if you're at a ex One Direction member's concert, any other One Direction member being there is going to be insane, whether like you like the member or not. Like it is like a very big moment in that sense. But the way that he walked into that suite and was just like looking at these girls as if like he was like the best thing since sliced bread and everybody was there to see him, I was like, can you sit the fuck down and let Niall do his show? Because like this is not about you. People are not, you know, coming to your shows like this. People are not fawning over you the way that they are for Niall, the way they are for Harry. Like, why are you walking into this room and acting like everybody is there for you? It just like, it gave me such an ick. And I was like, dude, calm the fuck on. Like, as if like you haven't made, you know, a big enough embarrassment about yourself in the past. Like, why are you doing this to yourself? And why are you like so thirsty and hungry for attention and almost like taking away the spotlight from somebody else? It just like put such a weird taste in my mouth. And then it just got worse, I guess, with everyone being so enraged about the way he acted at the Niall show. People were pulling out receipts of him being a fucking creep. There were screenshots of him DMing underage girls over the years coming out, sending unsolicited nudes, asking, you know, girls would DM him and be like, I love you so much. Like, I love your music. He'd be like, do you want to suck me off? So like, just like really weird and like not okay things to send to anybody unsolicited, but especially the fact that some of them were like 16, 17, even if they were of age, sending a nude unsolicited, or just like the way that he was messaging these girls and just being like, oh, do you want to come suck me off? Do you have any nudes on your phone? Do you want to come meet up with me? And just like completely treating them as if they were just like an object, which sure, you're a boy band member, girls are fawning over you, but like have a little bit of dignity, have a little bit of self-respect, not even just for you, but also for the people that you're messaging. Like have a little bit of respect for them. But obviously, this is the same man who's walking into his ex-band member's concert and like expecting the entire room to like fall to their knees and go crazy over him. So like I guess we shouldn't be that surprised, but he is just putting such a bad taste in my mouth and giving me such an ick this week that there was nobody else for me to pick for my mess but him. And with that, that brings us to the end of our episode. Thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode of Too Pop to Handle. If you liked what you heard and you're listening to us as a podcast, make sure you leave us a 5-star rating, leave me a review, follow the show. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, drop a comment down below. There's so many things that you can do on YouTube to engage with the video. Do them all except for dislike. And I say it every single week, but if everybody listening to this episode sends it to one friend, I will double in listeners. It is simple math. Share the love and the wealth of Too Pop to Handle with somebody. You know, it's a fun place to be, I'd like to say. So share it with somebody you love. If you would like to follow me on social media, we are at Too Pop to Handle across all platforms. If you would like to follow myself, I am at Andrew Nucatola. This is a good week to be following me because, like I said, I'm doing this quick little trip to Denver. So I'm going to make a lot of fun little like day in the life vlog content, fun little Charli and Troy videos. So make sure you're following me there. And with that, I will catch you guys next week. Bye.